All right, y'all. Ron Goodall, FightHype.com. Just left the Allegiant Stadium just to watch a little boxing. I don't know if you guys heard. Canelo Alvarez versus Terence Crawford. It's one of those little fights that happens to have a guy who managed to become not one, but not two, but 3 times undisputed in the 4-belt era while skipping 2 weight classes and pursuing against one of the best boxers of this generation, the man at super middleweight, as in Canelo Alvarez. That boy Terence is a bad man. And for everyone who's always questioned if Terence Crawford was a good fighter, a great fighter, I think a lot of you guys have gotten your answers tonight. I think ultimately Terence Crawford has to be the best fighter post Floyd Mayweather. You know, and I'm not here to compare, oh, who's better, Floyd or Terence. I'm gonna allow everyone to have their own era. But to put an exclamation mark, to have your own era, to have your own legacy, where people from now on will always bring you up, in comparison is already a win. And for that, Terence Crawford has finally succeeded by telling everybody that regardless of what type of obstacles or what type of circumstances, you're able to get to your goals and you're able to achieve those things if you really dedicate yourself to it. I've been covering Terence for quite some time, and I'm gonna share some personal stuff and some stories, not so much on him, but myself. But when I started covering boxing, right, and I always watch a lot of boxing channels, especially FightHype, right? And the owner of FightHype, Ben Thompson, shout out to Ben Thompson, would cover guys that I really enjoy, like Andre Ward, and of course, Floyd Mayweather. And so every boxing fan or any inspiring person would love to be able to cover one of those type of generational talent up close, right? To understand a little bit how they think, watch them spar, watch them train, talk to them, figure out how they think. And with that, you never know who that fighter will be. So, little old me, I was born in Omaha, Nebraska. There was no fighters from Omaha, Nebraska on the scene. And when I kind of started to get into boxing, there was a guy named Terence Bud Crawford that would fight on HBO. Little did I know that this guy would be the fighter that I would travel and watch and cover and talk to and chase. And what I mean chase, as in chase after interviews, try to get some FaceTime, and ultimately led me down to a road where I was able to cover the best fighter of this era. And when I was born in Omaha, I was born on a military base, and I never ever went back to Omaha. I lived in Omaha, I moved to New York, and then I moved to Ohio. So pretty much Ohio raised. But when people would ask me when I moved to Ohio, where did you come from? I would always say New York City. Because, I mean, I did come from New York City, but I know what that means. Where did you come from? Or where are you from? Or where, you know, that's kids asking, where were you born? Can't say Omaha, Nebraska, right? Where's that at, right? So, of course, I did some research. I got a little bit older and found out like Malcolm X and things like that. But, you know, there was no actual reason, you know, that I figured to go back to Omaha besides just, you know, figure out where I lived. But other than that, it's just, what's in Omaha? Even a person born in Omaha was like, what's in Omaha? So for that, it really gave me a huge opportunity to go back to figure out a little bit about my roots and understand where I came from, and really allowed myself to cover boxing at the same time. Terence Bud Crawford was that fighter for me. And for the most time, not only because he was born in Omaha, but I would always tell people that I thought he was better than that fighter, better than that fighter. He could beat this fighter. You know, I know you guys are looking at this. You're looking at, he can beat your fighter. So I would always pick Terence Crawford. But this Canelo fight, when it was originally talked about, I was nervous. Champ, how are you going to do this? How is this going to happen? I'm trying to fathom. My brain's telling me I got to pick Canelo. Wrestled with it. But over time, what seems is logical, I was explained that you have to go sometimes with your heart, because really your heart is really the logical pick. Because you really understand the sport and you really know the sport. If you feel that's the person that can win, well, that's the person you think is going to win. So I went with Terence, but it wasn't until leading up to the fight where I started to go, you know what? If he can believe it, why can't I? You know, my girl believed that Terence can do it. My dad says that Terence can do it. I cover Terence. I know what he can do. I've seen the things that he can do. And even with those type of accomplishments he's had before, and the work ethic and all this stuff, the things that he was doing in the gym, the confidence that he had. I've saw him spar Lester Martinez, and he came over and he was like, you see me fight Canelo confidently, like you see that? Shout out to Lester Martinez. Beast and Billy. Two crazy guys that definitely put on a show today. But so why am I hesitating? Why am I hesitating? Because I should. Because that's what champions do. They fight the boogeyman. They fight the guy way up there in weight. They fight people where the public, even their own fans, their own supporters, the reporters that cover them and see them up close. I don't know, champ. I don't know how you're going to do it. This champ. This Canelo. And these are words that I've also uttered. But like I said, over time, we've seen world champions, all-time greats, all have the same thing. Confidence, belief in themselves, work ethic. Many tools in the toolbox, you name it, everything and above. So I ask and I tell you, do you guys think Terence Bud Crawford deserves to be in your top 10 all-time best to ever do it? I might be biased. I was born in Omaha. It's okay. But I think with all those 10 guys, they're all worth being in there. But I think that if you ever had a question, anybody who decided to put Terence Crawford in their top 10, I think you can leave that argument alone. That man has shown the world why he's the best fighter of this generation. So with my last couple, remarks or notes, Terence have shown the world what it takes to become a 3-time undisputed champion in the 4-belt era, and jumping up 2 weight classes looks like. They say it couldn't have been done, but it's happened, and it did. He had great shot selection, great power, great footwork, great movement. He punched in between Canelo. He wasn't afraid. He trusted and believed his timing. There was no hesitation. You know what that all comes from? Hard work and preparation. Terence Crawford, by far, in the era of all the fighters that I've covered in this time, has to be the best that I've ever seen, because I didn't really get to see Floyd like that. I've only seen him a little bit, but with that little bit I saw, I kind of understood why he was so great. And from that little knowledge that I was able to acquire from watching him, And shout out to Frankie. Frankie covered Pacquiao like crazy. Frankie got to cover him, so he understands what the Pacquiao work ethic looks like. But I didn't really get to see that up close. But I've seen Floyd a little bit, but not enough to say like I did. But that little bit that I saw told me if I see a fighter that has any similarities of that I should keep an eye out on him. I know what that looks like now after covering Terence Crawford. And as a fan, you guys should be extremely happy of your fighter. Lastly, with Canelo Alvarez, you know, I think there should be no shame. The man has only lost to all-time generational talents. He's beaten tons and tons and tons and tons of champions, and sometimes you just lose. You lose, and obviously he's won way more than he lost. I know that a loss against Terence Crawford might hurt his legacy in a way because they felt like this little guy came up. But when you really put it in retrospect and hindsight now, losing to Floyd Mayweather, Dimitri Bivol, the bigger Dimitri Bivol, who later became Undisputed and fought Arthur Beterbiev, and then lost to Terence Crawford, you can't say nothing negative about this guy. Canelo Alvarez is one of the greatest fighters of this generation. And with that, I give him all the respect and all the flowers in the world. In addition to that, from the start of this fight, I was picking Canelo. But over time, slowly but surely, I had to go with my heart. So, like I said, the two great things that I was told over this week that helped me decide why on paper that I chose Terence Bud Crawford is, if he believes he can do it and you're a true believer of this guy, believe in him. In addition to that, if you feel in your heart that this guy can do it, and you can just you can't put your finger on it and you can't explain it, but you just really genuinely feel in your heart that something can happen, go with that feeling. Because when you finally get that true understanding of what an all-time great looks like, it's unexplainable. So congratulations to all the people who supported Terence Crawford. Congratulations to all the people that supported Canelo Alvarez. This was one of those type of fights where it was allowing someone to be great while someone was already great in the public perception. Respect to both guys. What's next for Canelo Alvarez? I have no idea. Just rest. There's a lot of fights out there that can allow himself to get back in the picture, but it really does make you wonder, question, where does he go from here? You know, there's a lot of options, there's a lot of big fights, there's a lot of dangerous fights out there, but ultimately, I would like to see him come back, maybe not run into a tough fight, build some confidence, and then maybe we can see something incredible, like him versus David Benavidez, which will allow him to show how great he is if he's able to accomplish a win against someone like that. And for Terence Crawford, you can do whatever you want, man. I mean, minus, you know, I don't know, fight King Kong. But even then, me doubting him against King Kong sounds just as foolish as doubting him against anybody that he's fought. So if he wants to ride out in the sunset, I'm with it. If he wants to go off and challenge himself and fight somebody else, I'm with it. But does he need to? I think his legacy is cemented. And I think at this point, we'll just have to wait to see the next best of their generation. So, all right, y'all. I got a little sappy. I got all this out. I feel good. It feels good to be right. I was going to be wrong a year ago, but I feel good. Terence Bud Crawford did it. Yes. And call me biased. Call me all that stuff. It's fine. I was born in Omaha. I covered a fighter from Omaha, and then I covered one of the best fighters, if not the best fighter of this generation. All right, this is Ron Goodall over here on FightHype.com. You can follow me on social media, blah, 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 blah. FightHype at Ron G. And then stay tuned. We got a whole bunch of content that's dropping on FightHype. And check your boy out. Peace.